Hello and welcome to Turning Point Tactics and Metawatch for the 26th of January. An exciting week for us. I'm going to cover the UK events, talk about some upcoming UK events, talk about the wider meta win percentage, do a tactical tip for subscribers, and answer a Patreon priority question. But as I said, exciting week because we're expecting a balanced data slate this week. So hopefully everything is going to change after this update. So we'll talk about that as well, all in this episode of the Metawatch. Hello and welcome to Turning Point Tactics, the competitive Killteam 40k YouTube channel focused on giving you the strategies and tactics to seize initiative every turning point. I'm your host Ryan and I'm here to help give you the tips and tricks that elevate every part of your Killteam experience. So no matter if you're a casual or a competitive player, there should be something here for you. If you're interested in supporting the channel, there's a few ways you can go about doing so. You can join the Patreon, where you get access to members only Discord, Patreon priority questions, early access to content, exclusive content, and tournament awards. Or if you find yourself buying Killteam goodies or hobby supplies, you can use one of our affiliate links in the description below or discount codes with Crossfire Games and GG Prints. We're always keen to hear your thoughts and feedback, so don't leave that comment box empty, let us know what you think. Once again, thanks for your support, and with all that said, let's get into it. Okay, so as I said, this is the Metawatch for the 26th of January. And I'm going to be covering off some of the UK events initially. So you can see on the screen whereabouts some of these UK events have happened over the past week. So quite a good selection, and actually quite a few up in the north as well. That being said, there are some upcoming ones in the south. So as I said on all these episodes, if you look at this map and you think to yourself, oh, I actually live nearby one of these places, it's probably worth trying to reach out to those TOs and see if you can get involved in that competitive scene, right? I'm sure they would love to have you along. And it seems like from some of the discussions in the UKTO chat that a lot of the Scottish events are selling out rather quickly. So if you are in Scotland and you want to get a ticket, it's probably worth reaching out because maybe they can go to a new venue, get a bigger store, whatever, to be able to get more people involved in more competitive Killteam, which is what we're all about. So anyway, let's get straight into it so we don't waste time. We've got a lot to talk about tonight and I want to make sure we cover it all off. So firstly, just off the top of the screen there, but it's Yorkshire Killteam's weeknight Warzone that took place on the 21st of January. The top three undefeated is Robert Taylor in third place with Felgor Ravagers, scoring 13 and 18 respectively. In second place is Carl Webster from Yorkshire Killteam with his Nemesis Claw, getting an 18 and a 16. And then in first place is Ryan Worthington with his Vespid Stingwings, rising to that top spot. So for those who don't know, these are like the just weeknight events that they run locally, and it's quite a good way of seeing what the sort of the meta is doing at the local gaming store, not just in the big tournaments, right? But I love to see a variety of teams in that top slot, and you can see in this particular event there's not too many full meta teams being taken. And a bit more of a variety there, which is good to see. Now, interestingly, everyone hopefully is up to date with the fact that we have Murderwing and the Sisters of Battle on the way, and they're going to definitely change and shape up the meta. So another elite team is probably a good thing for teams like Vespid, particularly as they don't have too many options to be able to get around, ignoring that obscurity. But they also fly, so maybe there's a parity now of movement between the two, where actually the Vespid aren't necessarily going to be able to reach the Murderwing, because the Murderwing can essentially charge 8 inches, end within 1 inch to have a 9 inch threat range, and the Vespid are only moving 6 inches to shoot within 2 for an 8 inch threat range. So the fact that both of them can do that sort of flying stuff, I think is going to make it really, really interesting for the team, and interesting for Vespid to see how they adapt and counter that. Same can be said really with Nemesis Claw, because it feels a lot of people are sort of probably of the opinion that Murderwing is a straight upgrade on Nemesis Claw, and in some aspects maybe that's true for mobility and some of the tricks and ploys that they have access to, but you know, there is a lot to be said about Vox Scream. There is a lot to be said about being able to delay your activations, have just scratch on your leader and that sort of stuff. So it's not as simple as just, yeah, this team is a straight upgrade. And if you're interested, I won't spoil it, but on Glass Half Dead, he did a battle report between Nemesis Claw and Murderwing. So you can see that elite pair up right there and see how that game plays out. So I highly recommend that you go onto Glass Half Dead and you check out that bat rep to be able to see it in action. I'm pretty sure it's on Glass Half Dead and not Tactical Skew, but I can't remember. I watched it a while ago now. But congratulations to Robert, Carl, and Ryan for your placings, third, second, and first at that little 2-round evening event in the Yorkshire Killteam. Moving on to a slightly larger event, was a 3-round event with 17 players, and we're now seeing a more familiar team selection at the top. That as you probably expect. So coming in third place is Johnny with his Deathwatch with a amazing first score round 1, 21 maxing out on his first game, then 16 and 10, showing that Deathwatch still have it really, and maybe there's a little bit of strength left in that team, but the undisputed champs of the current meta right now are reigning supreme at the top. So Peter. I'm not going to even try. With the Wolf Scouts, is doing exceptionally well with a 20, 15, and a 16. I'm really interested to see how this team is going to change in the data slate. I'm expecting it this week. I'm hoping it's this week. Maybe it'll be next week. I don't know. But like it should. It's usually in January. Like we don't have much of January left, right? Like you can see. I'm staking a lot on it. I'm hoping it's this week. So we'll see how they get on, how they adapt. Now they came in a little bit later to this meta, so maybe they're going to get away with it. But they have been so dominant since they've arrived. Now, often in the past, Games Workshop say, we won't do any balance changes to a team on their first slate. So if they don't, then I think they're going to be in a really, really dominant position. Going into this next bit of the meta, but I think there's a really interesting matchup there between them and the Murder Wing, and the two actually I think can play a really interesting game into each other because the Wolf Scouts are a little bit faster and they're able to use that 7-inch movement to threat range it in a little bit of a different way, and then the Murder Wing are going to be I think able to stage on vantage better and with their sort of chip damage. And then fighting, potentially be able to get around the sort of the damage reduction the Wolf Scouts are used to having, and the safety that it normally provides. I don't know how they get around the -1 attack though. That's going to be the interesting question. But maybe all that will change in the data slate. We will have to wait and see, I guess. In hopefully this week. But congratulations to Peter for his second place with Wolf Scouts, and then in first place is Adam Hartman with Canoptek Circle with an 18, 18, and 16. Canoptek remaining supreme, as I think most people think that they would be. They definitely are doing well in the meta. They have been doing well for a very long time, and therefore I'm expecting them probably to be hit the hardest out of any team in this data slate. So we'll have to wait and see. But until then, Adam gets to enjoy his first place victory with the team. Now we're into Killteam 4, 16-player event. This is up in Scotland, so up in the north. And I believe it might actually been run by Ryan, but we'll get into that later. But anyway, in third place, a team that we haven't seen in a hot second, but awesome to see in a weird. I don't think I'd ever say that before. I don't think I'd ever think I would say to myself, it's awesome to see Sanctifiers in the top 3. Huh? How times have changed. How does that make you guys feel at home? That I said that. I feel like I need to have a drink or something and wash my mouth out. Anyway, I jest. Fraser, congratulations for getting third place with Sanctifiers. Two wins and a loss there, but a high scoring loss on 15 points. Must have been a pretty close game. I think it's great to see that there's a little bit of variety coming into these top spots now. Over in the US tournaments, you saw a lot of Raveners doing really well. So I think it'd be cool to see if we can see a bit more variety in player selections. Talking of Raveners, Fraser Hogg coming out with a straight 3 wins, getting second place with 15, 14, and 18. As I said, I think the US had some pretty large events recently where Raveners were doing particularly good, and I need to try and probably investigate this and get one of those players onto the channel. But I'm not sure if I have all the contact details for them. But maybe if you're a US player that knows the secret source to Raveners, reach out and I'll see if I can get you on the pod. My availability is going to be difficult over the next few weeks because I'm going to be going on a work trip, sadly. But separate discussion. But I would love to try and speak to some of these Ravenous players and figure out what that secret sauce is and how they're doing so well in a different meta, because we can all learn from each other, right, and see how those metas adapt and how people perform so well with them. But then in first place is Ryan, great name, with his Wrecker crew going 21, 17 and 17, just absolutely crushing it with Wrecker crew. And I said this before, I think Wrecker crew are in a great position. They've got really good counters into the elite meta as it stands. I think that will be consistently true into this next meta as well. So like I don't see anything from Murderwing that particularly changes that dynamic, with the exception of, I guess, the fact that they can activate last and they have access to recon, which I think is the two main bits against Wrecker crew that you want. You want to be able to not be reliant on seek and destroy and security. So having access to that recon archetype to be able to go either flank or retrieval is really useful to be able to then get some decent scores. Also, I guess whilst we're on the topic, and I'm sort of formulating how I think Murderwing is going to interact with the meta, and I haven't talked about Sisters of Battle yet. I will get onto those. But they have a lot of lethal, and they have a lot of lethal and a lot of rending. So maybe they can actually punch through and kill the key warriors a little bit easier than a lot of other teams. Because for those who don't know, one of the best ways of trying to kill a wrecker is to use lethal and crits, because if you don't use crits, they're going to just scratch you. So combinations of lethal 5 and rending means you might be able to get 2 to 3 crits, and if you've got 6 damage on that, or you have chip damage to be able to reduce them to the point where you can get them with a single crit, then actually you might be in a position where you can make this work. So maybe Murderwing might be a good counter to Wrecker Crew. So the combination of being able to hide on vantage and use boost to be able to get around the map, that working with the fact that you can potentially have that lethal 5 rending sort of scenario to be able to kill the key operatives. I'm thinking as well, like, you go into your Chaos Lord versus the Knob, right? Most models in the game struggle to be able to kill that guy. But if you're lethal 5 rending and you're 4/6, but you do a chip damage on the charge, taking him down to 13 wounds, and then you can do damnation to be able to give yourself an extra pip of damage to be able to do essentially 13 damage in 2 hits. I think there's a good chance that you can just kill that Knob in essentially a 2-hit combo with your Lightning Claws, which is very thematic to see a Chaos Lord just tearing a Knob in asunder. There you go. So interesting to think about. Now, I'll finish off actually the events, and I'll talk about some Sister Battle stuff as well. And finally, just another 2 rounds so far. Now, I think this event may not be finished. I think they're doing like a little league. So if that is the case, Coventry Killteam, let me know and I'll update it in future. But we can see at the top is Angel of Death, Battleclade and Vespid Stingwing after their sort of first 2 rounds. And they've got, I think, 1 round to go. So it's either going to be Battleclade or Vespid Stingwings coming out on top. And I think it's awesome to see, in my opinion, Battleclade being played quite so much. Now, we saw that Dan Barton jumped on Battleclade and took him to a tournament recently. And I think we've seen people trying to explore a little bit more with some of the off-meta teams. And I think it'd be cool to see how this dopes out between Battleclade and Vespid Stingwings. But anyway, congratulations Mark, and congratulations Jake and Laurie. Did I say everyone's names before? Yeah, I did. Yeah, that's fine. So that's the events that I think have happened so far. If I've missed your event, please let me know, and I can cover it on a future episode. There might be a little bit of a gap when it comes to Metawatch videos. As I said, I'm going away for a few weeks, so I might have to do a big catch-up when I get back, which will be an absolutely mammoth Metawatch video. So if I have missed your event, let me know, and we can add on to all of that to make sure we get it captured, because I want to try and celebrate people doing well when it comes to Killteam. As I said, talking about Killteam events though, if you go to talkify.com/KT events, you can find yourself a link to this website, which has all the events that I know of going on in the UK. to be able to find it. So if you're visiting the UK from an international community and you want to try and find events, hey, it's a great way of doing that. If you live in the UK and you want to try and find somewhere to go and play, hey, it's a great way of doing that as well. The link is in the description below as well if you need to find it via a different means. But just let you know, this is where it is. So coming up this weekend, we've got a few events. So we've got one in Bristol, the Bristol Killteam January Classic. It's a 4-round event going down in Bristol. At the same time, you have a 4-round event going on in London, in Darksphere, I believe, and that is the games I'm aware of for this weekend. So if you got one this weekend, you got tickets you need to sell, then either add yourself to this event or put it in the description below and put a link to the BTB so people can try and get involved. Into February then, we've got Yorkshire Killteam and Venator Tabletop Gaming having games on the 7th. Up to the 21st of Feb and the 22nd of Feb, we have the UKTC Manchester event. And we also concurrently have an event going down in Kent, which is Storm the Bunker, and a event going on in Curtin on the 21st of Feb as well. Now, that's hopefully when I start getting back. So the first event back that I'm looking at playing is going to be Killteam Leicester February casual tournament. I will obviously be taking the Die Hard Murder Wing or Wolf Scouts to the casual tournament just to try and absolutely sweat on everyone. I don't think I'll be doing that. It's a casual event, so I think I might try and play Scouts or something. I want to try and do a team that's a little bit out there and to mix up my own personal play style, because I play a lot of security and seek and destroy, and I think actually trying to do a bit of experimentation with infiltration and recon is better for my development, like overall as a player, and to also understand what people are trying to do when it comes to like their own personal tac ops and that sort of stuff, and then I can then maybe develop game plans to get better at trying to beat them. Who knows? But yeah, like you can use those events if you're a competitive player. Like I said, if it's a 3-round casual event, don't feel the need that you need to go sweat out with the Canoptic Circle. Instead, maybe try and think about, okay, I'm going to use this to see how I can score with infiltration, to learn about how to deny infiltration when you go to the big events that matter, right? Hey, that was like a tactical tip that I just gave away. Damn it, probably should have kept that one. I'll use it again next week in different context. It'll be fine. Then we're on to the 28th of Feb. We have Killville. That's in Livingston, and then Stockport on the Sunday, the 1st of Feb, is doing a Teams event. I do feel kind of bad because I'm pretty sure I said to people, make sure you do Sunday events and try and do it, and then suddenly a lot of Sunday events have appeared, and now they're all on the same date. But hey, this is a good thing, I think, generally, because I think the more like games that people can play, the better. And as I said, a lot of retail people are locked in on Saturdays and they just can't go to events, and I would say like 90% of our events are on Saturdays. So it's nice to be able to put them on to Sundays for those that maybe can't do a regular Saturday, and it just gives people more flexibility, right? Like maybe that's a better thing. Maybe we need more smaller events on different days rather than big events. I don't know, thoughts. Anyway, what was I talking about? Sunday 1st of March, there's an event going on in Andover, and I said the Teams event up in Stockport as well. So I'm going to see if I can go to this Teams event. If not, maybe I'll go to the Andover event, and then we have the Super Major on the 7th down in Windsor for the UKTC. That's what we'll cover now, but as I said, you can go on and you can look, and there's loads and loads and loads more events, right? So I'm not going to read through all of them, but do please go on there, check events, align your calendars, and make sure that you can hopefully play as much competitive Killteam as you want to in 2026. I think that'd be awesome. That is the summary of UK events thus far and upcoming UK events. As I said, if you are a TO and you're trying to advertise your events, use the comments box below and throw out the adverts. I'll try and populate them as best as possible, or add your events to that Talkify page. It's a really good way of being able to advertise them, and hopefully it means that when we got people that are coming over to the UK and they want to try and get some pickup games or whatever, they might go, oh, actually I can go to a tournament on that weekend because I'm going to be there. And then you might get more people turn up from a different community, and you get to meet more awesome people, which would be awesome, right? Cool. So we're into the stats, and this is probably why a lot of people come to the video, is to have a look at the latest data that we have from pretentiousplasticops.com. I believe, again, the link is for this is in the description below, so feel free to use that. And all credit goes to Smiles, Lies and Gunfire, an incredible person that puts all of the hard work into making this happen. I am just a voice that talks about the data provided by others. So please consider supporting them by going on their channel or on their website, and I think you can even buy them a beer or buy them a coffee or whatever, and I think they would massively appreciate that if you could. But let's talk top teams as per usual, and a bit of a meta discussion about where the new teams are coming in and how I think that's going to mix things up a little bit. Should probably caveat, there's a data slate and all of this might change, but I expect it to change at the top and the bottom, and the stuff in the middle probably less so, just because of the way data slates work. So we'll see. But believe it or not, I'm pretty sure that the Canoptech have fallen below 60% win rate for the first time, I believe. I might be wrong. Let me know in the comments box below. But I'm pretty sure every single time I do a discussion on Canoptech Circle, they are in excess of 60% win rates, and now they are dropping down to a meager 59.48%, beaten only by Wolf Scouts, who remain in the 62.62%, both with extremely high placing rates of 23%. Now, again, I just think for people that are sort of new to this data, I just want a bit of context on why I think placing rates really important. So if you're doing like a 4-round event, right? If you look at how like the average weighting should go, if you sort of lose after your first sort of round, 50% of the players should lose. After the second round, 25 should lose. Third round, like 12.5% should be left, and then you should be down to that sort of like 6 to 12%, whatever. That's kind of what it's saying, is that if you had a normal balanced meta, you wouldn't expect a team to get much higher than sort of your 12.5% at a 3-round event, or 6.25% at a 4-round event. The fact that these teams are placing on like a 23% is really, really worrying, and continues to be pretty problematic. And I think as soon as you start seeing teams that are consistently hitting those sort of like 20% placing numbers, that's when I think there is something needs to be looked at. And now part of that might be the meta, right? So part of it might be that you have a team that's just doing really, really well into the current meta because everyone's playing Wolf Scouts, Canoptechs and Mandrakes, and you have the perfect team to counter that, and therefore you're placing much better. It might also be when you see a really high placing rate that there's very few players playing that team, and there's a particularly good player that is playing it, and therefore you get an inflated placing rate. So there is a risk of that. But what you can see on the far right hand column is how many times that they've been picked, which is, you know, when you have a really big data set like this, you can then sort of see what the most popular factions are in the game. So if you were to want to start prepping for what you think is the most likely teams that you're going to face, I would suggest Wolf Scouts, Canoptech, Raveners, Wreckers, Nemesis Claw. Should caveat, this is all global meta, right? Global meta. You have to apply some logic to yourself as to what your local meta is. And Deathwatch, Deathwatch being the largest. So you need to make sure you've seen the rules for them. And then Mandrakes, Aquilans, Angel of Death, Stealth Suits, and Blades of Cain are all, and Plague Marines are all being sort of the next most popular tier, and then it goes down to sort of your Felgor, your Vespid, your Brood Brothers, your Hand of the Archon, your Goremongers, etc., Ratlings, and that sort of thing. So you can see like how popular these teams are. Now the fact that you have a very, very popular team like Wolf Scouts with a very, very high placing and a high win rate remains problematic. So I'm expecting Wolf Scouts, I'm expecting Canoptech, Mandrakes, Felgor, and Chaos Cult, although Chaos Cult is a niche where it's not that popular of a team, so maybe they would avoid it, because this could be artificially inflated by just having strong players. Just something to be aware of. But I would expect them all to be receiving nerfs, right? So if that is the case, then it's kind of like, what is the next teams that are rising out of that, and what do we think is going to be the best teams as a result? Now, coming into the meta is Murderwing, and Murderwing, as far as I read them, I don't think they're a particularly effective shooting team. They have the Skyseer, which either has a plasma gun or a melter gun. They have access to a plasma pistol, but it's nothing particularly exciting, right? It's just like a little bit killy, but nothing crazy. I think they are predominantly a melee elite team, very, very similar to Nemesis Claw, but with some more tricks, right? So that's kind of how I would see them performing in the meta. The Sisters of Battle that are coming out, again, they're not really a shooting team. They seem to me to be a melee team, and I think their durability is very much skewed towards helping them be even stronger versus other melee teams, right? So their damage reduction in melee, their strike on death, their like aura damage that they can put out are all very, very useful when it comes to killing melee teams. So I think, for instance, if I was to look at like Chaos Cult, I think Chaos Cult are potentially going to struggle into the Sisters, right? Because I think they don't like the fact that the every time the Sisters charge you, they're going to be reducing the damage, albeit only from the crits and the Blessed Blades and the Torments, but it's still the flat damage reduction is very impactful when it comes to how they're going to be performing. Additionally, the strike on death and that sort of thing means that they might be able to do more damage than you're expecting on their way out. And the Justice Scratch means that they might also be able to do a favourable trade where, you know, if you lose a Torment and don't kill a Sister, that's going to hurt big during your turn. Same thing for Felgor, and I think arguably it's the same thing for Mandrakes. I might be a little bit wrong about that, but like I feel like Mandrakes aren't going to love fighting these new Sisters. So I think actually the Sisters might be, as it stands, quite well placed into some of these big melee teams that you see at the top. I don't think Farstalker are a melee team. Brew Brothers, not really either. These are kind of like a blend team. Well, Vesper's a shooting team, but these are kind of like a blended team, right? So I feel they're going to do okay into that matchup. Things like Raveners and that sort of stuff. Again, like I feel like they're not going to be too bad against. But where I think they might struggle is the Canoptech, the Wolf Scouts, the Death Watch, Nemesis Claw, because I think even though Nemesis Claw is a melee team, I think they just have a lot of quite oppressive damage that they can force through. Might be wrong on that one. I'm trying to think about their damage profiles, but maybe people can more intelligent than me can tell me who wins that melee fight. But my point being is that I think they're going to come into what currently at the top of the meta looks fairly favourable for them. But what is going to get buffed at the bottom, right? So I'm expecting, right, that these bottom 5 teams are probably going to get buffed. It would seem crazy to me if they didn't. So let's say Hyrotech get buffed. Well, I think that's going to be a difficult team for the Sisters to deal with. Similar activation counts, the regeneration, AP1 shooting with sort of 4 or 5 damage. They don't get the damage reduction in shooting. So if you get a crit and a crit and a hit through, then they die. So I think, you know, actually that's probably bad, assuming that they get a significant buff that brings them up into relevance. Scouts, probably less of an issue actually, because with the access that they have with essentially, I mean, they do a lot of 4/4 damage scouts, 4/5 in melee, which is only going to really be 3/4 in melee. So 4/4 versus like 9 wounds and power armor means that you're going to leave a lot of Sisters on 1 wound left, I think, and that's not going to do much favours for you. On the converse side, I mean, the Sisters do a lot of 4/4 damage as well with their maces, so there might be a lot of people just swinging into each other and not actually killing anything, which would be amusing. But so depending on how well buffed these teams get, then, you know, from Sister point of view, it might be interesting to see. Now, Battleclade I think is going to be a very interesting matchup. I'm trying to think what might change for Battleclade, right? Because I mean, they've got the sort of dev wounds off the leader's pistol. They've got melter weapons. They've got some heavy shooting. All of those I think are going to be good into the Sisters. And they're not really reliant on their melee combat, or at least it feels that way to me when I played against them. They don't feel like a melee team, which is where I think the Sisters are strongest. And the Sisters, I guess, are going to be able to go in there and try to 2-hit them with their sort of 4/4. But if they make the sort of is it Incantation of the Iron Soul, 5-up save on one of those dice, then they're probably not dying. Then they can fall back and get someone else to shoot or something. So it'd be interesting to see. I think I'm expecting Battleclade to get a buff. I might be wrong, but I really hope that all these teams that are sort of below a 50% win rate, below a 45% win rate, but let's say 50% win rate, get some love, because I'd love to see just complete change in the meta. But maybe that's me. Maybe it's a bit too chaotic for that. Plague Marines are going to be interesting. So the Plague Caster is going to hate the new Sisters team, right? Like you can't really use him. I mean, you can sort of hide him at the back and try and do some of the healing stuff at range, but not the easiest one to pull off, maybe. But I don't necessarily know if the Sisters have the sort of the damage to be able to kill them particularly easily. Is my assumption when looking at that matchup. I feel like the Plague Marines are going to be able to tie them down and do the damage they need to do, particularly with things like the Flail. So the Flail is going to be able to go and do the chip damage needed to then make it so that your melee fight becomes favourable. And also, if you're poisoned and you leave a sister on like one wound left, well, actually that's probably exactly what you need to be able to kill sisters quite effectively. And if you leave them poisoned and they die not as a result of the fight action, they can't strike on death, which is an interesting technique to be able to get around that sort of stuff. So I don't think they'll love seeing Plague Marines into the meta. Don't know about the same like if we said about Murderwing. I think Murderwing. Well, I'll talk about salvages. And finally, salvages versus sisters. Again, I don't think sisters are going to enjoy the salvages matchup. You can charge and fight salvages and take sort of the plasma knife damage, which although sure is you're going to reduce it down to 4 damage, it's still going to leave you in a vulnerable state to a lot of their weapons. And they have a lot of very good shooting and piercing shooting to be able to do the damage that they need to kill. But so I feel like actually these teams that I'm expecting to receive buffs, if they become meta relevant, maybe they won't. Maybe they'll just come into this bottom here and it won't be a significant buff. But if they did become meta relevant, I don't think they're great for sisters. And these teams at the top, where there's a lot of melee teams, I think potentially this next row are going to be good for them. So, you know, when I was first talking about sisters, I was thinking that they're going to be sort of a B tier like team. It was kind of my perception. But maybe in this new meta, assuming that the big culprits get taken down, maybe this is going to be a good meta for them. Maybe they're going to be like the new records that come out in a favourable meta against them. Now for Murderwing, Hyrotech, I'm trying to think if that's problematic for them or not. I'm not really too sure. I don't think most elite teams like fighting Hyrotech. That they can be pretty killy when they need to be. Being able to have last activation though is really nice, and being able to tear apart 12 wound operatives quite easily is also very nice, because if they try to set up for the Apprentech sort of to slingshot someone forwards, you can potentially charge that Apprentech, kill them, and then they're reliant on a reanimation roll in the next turning point to be able to avoid a bad turning point for them. So something to be said about that. Scouts, I think we're going to absolutely hate Murderwing. I can't see a favourable situation for Scouts versus Murderwing, and the reason is they're all 10 wounds. Scouts, they don't have any like inherent damage reduction, and I think Murderwing are exceptionally good at dealing 10 damage. They have power weapons that are essentially 4/6. Even their sort of like the chainsword at 4/5, if they charge you and chip you for 1, and then they get a crit and a hit, that's 9 damage, they're going to kill you. And they have other means of doing chip damage to be able to get you into the break points that they want to be able to do. And they're not going to enjoy the fact that you're going to be able to activate your last model after them, to be able to mean that they can't set up in a way that they normally would with activation advantage. So I think they're going to hate that. Same for Battleclade. I think there's just too much raw damage coming through. The Incantation of the Iron Soul isn't going to be enough, and they're just going to get torn apart. Plague Marines, I think that's going to be an interesting matchup. I think on Volcus, it's probably going to be Murderwing's game to lose. And on ITD, it's probably going to be a bit more interesting, I think, is my gut reaction. But you can potentially mismatch strat ranges really well as the Murderwing team. So maybe there's something there to be said about that. And salvages inherently, like part of this is because I play against Bart a lot. I say a lot, but I play against Bart with salvages, and he's a very good salvages player, and it's a nightmare as elites, and I always think I'm going to lose it, and we always have very close games, and I go into it thinking to myself, I don't know how to beat this, but I think with Murderwing it's a much more favourable situation than most, because I think Murderwing have, I'm trying to think now, so Chaos Law can do it, Champ can do it, the Predator can do it, and Shrieker can do it. Four operatives that can one hit 8 damage in melee, which means a lot of the time when you go into salvages, the thing that you don't want to do is like when you go and you fight them, they get to hit you for 5 damage with their sort of crit on the way out, and it can be really painful. And if you have to do 3 hits to them or whatever, they might even be able to do even more damage back to you. But like that's a lot of the time what happens. But Murderwing can do quite reliably with 4 operatives, 1 hit out, and therefore you get around that sort of that punishment of melee damage, and you're less impacted potentially by the terrain stuff. So I think actually Murderwing might find that matchup fine. So that's the new teams. Here's my gut reaction to where I think this is pre-data slate. I don't know how that's going to change things, but let's assume top 5 teams get nerfed, bottom 5 teams get buffed, and they all become meta relevant, and we'll see where it goes. I think you'll see Murderwing turning up into your new S tier, which will be populated by Murderwing, Chaos Cults, Brood Brothers, and do we think Wolf Scouts will get nerfed enough? Wolf Scouts, let's go with that. So I think Murderwing, Wolf Scouts, Brood Brothers, and Chaos Cult are going to make up your new S tier. Is my gut reaction. And then just below that, I think you're going to get the Vespid, like Inquisition, Sisters, Raveners, Wreckers, Nemesis Claw, all that sort of stuff, hanging out in A tier. Although I also imagine the popularity of Nemesis Claw is about to fall through the floor. There must be so many Nemesis Claw players right now fixated on that Murderwing, going, I'm going to jump ship to that immediately. Just in the same way that so many Deathwatch players jumped onto Wolf Scouts, right? So I cannot foresee a future in which Murderwing isn't going to be exceptionally popular, and have a whole bunch of people jumping to try and get onto it. Cool. I was going to do just a quick look at 2 particular teams I thought was going to be interesting. So first I was going to look at Chaos Cult, just as a bit of a meta focus is like the way to describe it. Now I think this team probably should get a nerf. So just back to the data that you need to see, they're on a sort of a 55% win rate. So what I should do here, I realise now I've messed it up because I've included non-classified teams, but I'm just showing you now how easy it is for you to be able to check data yourself. There you go. So Chaos Cult, so they're on a 54.9% win rate, so basically 55% win rate, which, to be fair, isn't an exceptionally high win rate. It's just on the threshold of being too much. But I would suggest that their win rate is probably being kept down by these teams, but maybe I'm wrong. Let's find out. So this is how I can sort of gauge my opinion. So Hand of the Archon, Hyrotech, Kasrkin, Sanctifiers, all 100% win rates, kind of tracks. Okay. Exaction Squad down to an 83, Aquilin 78, makes sense. Felgor 75% win rates. They're doing well into Felgor, which I'm a little bit surprised about. Doing well into Plague Marines, 75% win rate. And Blades of Cain 62, Mandrake 62, Wreckers 62. So maybe there's like an interesting thing here where they're actually pretty good at countering some of the popular teams. We've seen there's a lot of Mandrakes, there's a lot of Wreckers, So if they're doing well into those, then that kind of makes sense. Deathwatch at a 60% win rate and Wolf Scouts at a 57% win rate. So maybe there's something here to be said about the fact that they're actually just very good at beating the current meta teams. So what are they actually losing against is probably an interesting question to find out. Breaches, sure. Jaeger, Canoptic Circle. Okay. So, okay, this is an interesting discussion. Salvagers, yep, fine. Brew Brothers, okay. Farstalkers, Battleclade, Nemesis Claw, and Stealth Suits is what they don't like playing against. And the sort of ambivalent is in the middle at 50%. Your Raveners, your Vespid, your Scouts, your Ratlings, and your Goremongers. Okay. If they've got a 23% win rate versus Canoptech, and we are expecting Canoptech to be nerfed, hopefully by like an atom bomb. Hopefully not by an atom bomb. I want them to remain playable and people to have fun with their models. But I don't want to see them at the top 3 of every tournament. Maybe an atom bomb is required. I don't know. But whatever. But assuming that they get hit, right? Like if that's one of the main predators for this team, now Brew Brothers as well are maybe they come out and start holding this team back. But if not, then like looking at this, they don't like Nemesis Claw, which means to me that they probably don't like Murderwing. Maybe Canoptech gets replaced by Murderwing. Assuming that there's a similar logic here in a sense that they don't like big killy melee elites, right? If they don't like big killy melee elites, then maybe that's going to be the case. But if not, they seem to have a very favourable meta into the rest of what's going on. Small data set, don't be wrong, but like if they're good at like killing Wolf Scouts, Deathwatch, Inquisition, Wreckers, Mandrakes, I think they're all going to be very relevant teams, right? Like those are teams that we think are probably going to be popular. But maybe if this is anything to go by, they're sort of 41% or 42% into Nemesis Claw. Maybe they're going to struggle versus Nemesis Claw versus Murderwing as well, and maybe that's what's going to hold them back. But I think Chaos Cult is one to watch. I think Chaos Cult has a potential to really succeed in this upcoming meta, assuming that they aren't held back too much by Murderwing. But what do you guys think? Like, am I talking crazy talk, or do you think maybe that this is one to watch? The other one that I was going to look at was going to be Kasrkin. I realised that I've got the wrong data. But look how easy it is. Such an easy website to use. I honestly can't believe just how good this website is. Anyway, Kasrkin, 44.85% win rate. Now, a very small meta percentage, right? So 97 games. This is a team that's consistently kind of sucked when it comes to this edition, and therefore I feel like they've got to get something, right? Like they've got to get something in the balanced data slate. But maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I think this is the best that they've done historically, at just below 45%. So maybe they peaked too late and they're going to avoid any buffs. But I'm sure it's not the case. But let's see who they do well into. So they do well into Salvagers, Sanctifiers, Jaeger, Plague Marines, Nemesis Claw, Angels of Death, Wolf Scouts, Deathwatch. This to me says that they are doing well into elites, essentially. I can't really read too much onto that, but the fact they're doing sort of a positive win rate into elites makes sense. I believe it from their like archetype point of view and how the team works. But let's see what they're not doing so well into. So Canoptech, yeah. Interestingly, Battleclade, Vespid. I can actually see that because Vespid do a lot of 8 damage guns at piercing 1, and I imagine that absolutely shreds any sort of Kasrkin model that puts out into the open. So I can definitely see that being a difficult matchup for them. Mandrakes, yeah, disgusting. Like, again, Mandrakes are faster, killier, have more interrupts and more ploys, can do things on conceal, so you can be able to shoot them and just probably generally mess you up. So yeah, makes sense. Hierotech, Chaos Cult, we talked about Chaos Cult already. Aquilans, yeah, okay, makes sense. They have more, they out-activate you, and they're just as shooty and killy as you are. So they do the same thing, but with an extra body, and they can stage their models safely on Turning Point 2 by hiding way high above you. Inquisition, Goremongers, and Wreckers. So Goremongers, yep, I can see that. Disgusting melee team that you have to shoot twice to be able to kill, and your team doesn't inherently shoot twice. It shoots once very, very effectively, but it doesn't shoot twice. So that's going to remain to be a problem. And then Wreckers, I'm actually a little bit surprised by, because I would have thought that Wreckers would have gone into the same categories as the other elites, but potentially they're just a scratch, and the, I guess, amount of blast that these guys have means that they are harder to play against. So, do we think that this is going to be a favourable meta for Kasrkin, assuming that they get something? Well, let's assume that Nemesis Claw is the same as Murderwing. So they're going to be good at killing them. They're going to be good at killing Plague Marines, Wolf Scouts, and all that sort of stuff. So these teams are all good against. Canoptek, we're expecting to get nerfed. Battleclade, probably getting buffed, so this is bad for them. Vespid, I'm not expecting to change. Bad for them. Mandrakes, I'm expecting to get a nerf, hopefully. So good for them. Hyrotech, bad for them. Chaos Cult, not getting... Well, maybe they get touched, but if they get a nerf, that'd be good for them. And Aquilon's probably not being touched. So I don't think that this is going to be a good meta for Kasrkin. So we'll have to see what they change, but based on the teams that they currently do well into, I mean, there is a lot of elites out there. So like, let's be fair about that. There's a lot of elites out there. There's also a lot of Wreckers. There's also like a lot of Mandrakes and that sort of thing. So yeah, we'll see. But I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful they're going to get some big buffs. Maybe it's all going to change, and it's going to get better. It's going to get better. Okay, that is the stats analysis. So I've talked about UK events, upcoming UK events, talked about the wider meta win rates. We did a bit of a faction focus on two teams that I think are interesting to look at. And I've done throughout some data slate speculation. And I might do... I mean, it's honestly like, do I do a video saying what I want to see in the data slate when I'm hoping it's going to be this soon? Maybe I should. Would that be something you guys would be interested in? Is me putting out a data slate video good? Do I just wait for the data slate? Probably just wait for the data slate. Anyway, the bit that everyone is probably here for is the tactical tip, but it is only for subscribers. So if you're not a subscriber to the channel, thank you so much for watching. The rest of this isn't for you, because you haven't just hit subscribe, and all you have to do is just click the little button, and it helps me out, and it helps the channel go to more people, and it helps me get more views, and it helps me find the will to try and do more content. So thank you for all the subscribers. This is a tactical tip for you. Now, I wanted to make it somewhat themed to hopefully what this week's about, which I'm hoping it's about data slate. If not, it'll be applicable next week. But I won't have a video next week, so you can roll it across to then. But my tactical tip is, and people have said this in passing, but I think it's also useful for tactical tip. Rules are temporary, models are forever, right? Now, as I said, I'm expecting a data slate this week, or next week, or hopefully soon. So if we do get the data slate, you're going to see a whole bunch of new rules and changes to rules and changes to the way teams play and all that sort of stuff. And a lot of people are going to be tempted to jump onto new teams, which is good, or they're going to be annoyed that their team has been nerfed. If you're a long-time Canoptek player, maybe you'll be annoyed if the team gets hit really hard. But one of the things that I want to say is, like, when you approach this game, like, think of it in the sense that the rules are temporary. They are going to change. If your team is bad at the data slate comes out, let's say it comes out tonight, and I've missed it, and I'm recording this, and I now find out that my Deathwatch are really bad, right? They will be bad, and they will be bad for a period of time, right? But the models I have are going to be good for forever, right? And the way GW works is, if your team then becomes bad and doesn't perform well, they will correct it. So they have reverted nerfs previously. So not fully, like they buff other bits of the team, but like, let's say that they make Canoptek 2 operatives because they think that's the only way to balance the team. They're not going to do that, by the way, clearly, but hypothetically, like, you can expect in a data slate in future that they're going to say, actually, we're going to increase it to 4 operatives because, you know, it makes more sense to do this one than the other, right? So the point that I'm trying to say is that, like, use this opportunity when the rules change to think about more things in the hobby and to adjust the way in which you're playing. Maybe you switch to a new play starter team. Maybe you switch to a different faction, a different archetype. You learn different tac ops. You learn more about the game and the broader concept of the game. And if you're worried about the fact that your team isn't the hottest thing right now, don't worry about it. Like, it will get adjusted. These things come and go. If you're just chasing the wins, whatever, again, these things come and go. So you'll have to be constantly chasing and changing your matchups, whereas maybe someone who's been a bit more committed to a team is then going to ride that trend back up, all right? So just be aware that those teams can adjust, and think about that when you're buying a team, right? Like, if you're this week, you're hovering over Canoptic Circle in your add to cart button, think to yourself, why are you buying Canoptic Circle? Like, is it because you're interested in the team? Are you happy to ride those waves, right? Because you're probably about to go into the downward wave before it comes back up later in more buffs. But like, are you happy to do that? And if you are, then absolutely do it, because the models are there forever, right? They're going to last, 3 seasons and have loads of changes. And we've seen actually that, Games Workshop will continue to adjust teams that are like are even on the way out, right? So the rules are going to constantly be adapted for you, which keeps it fresh and keeps it interesting. But the models are going to stick with you. So think about it in that way, like, what are you committing to with this team? And think, is that something that I want to? Do I like the aesthetic? Do I like the play team? Do I like the thematics of the team? Do I like the lore behind it? Whatever it is, right? Like, think about like why it is you want to commit to it, because those rules are going to change, right? And that's a good thing, and should be viewed as a good thing, because it gives you a new challenge, right? And additionally, for those competitive players, if you are a diehard, like I play this team, whatever, and you've been doing really well with it, and it's changed, maybe take the opportunity to see if there's a different way to play that team and to adjust to the changes before you say, the team's ruined. Like, we saw this with Hyrotech Circle, right? Balanced Data Slate came out. The initial reaction was, oh my god, this team is now D tier, useless, you might as well put it in a box and never even see it ever again. And then about 6 months later, everyone was like, I think it's actually one of the strongest teams in the game still, and we've all completely slept on it. So don't overreact to the changes, right? Don't overreact to a data slate. Start thinking analytically about it. Start thinking about, okay, how does it actually change my playstyle? How does it change my attack up selections? How does it change my operative selection? Is there an equipment piece that I can use to offset this? Is this going to change because of the way the meta is going to change? Like, am I now entering a more favourable meta with this team? So think about it in those ways. Try and do a bit more of a deeper dive. And if you really are like put off by it and you don't want to do it, then think about choosing a team that develops you more holistically as a player, right? So as I said, the rules are temporary, the models are forever. You don't have to just absolutely flip out when the data slate comes out if it's not exactly what you want. But I'm hoping that it's going to be a really good data slate for everyone involved, and that's where I'm at. But anyway, maybe you guys can in the comments say what you want to see when it comes to data slate changes. Like let me hear them, because I'm excited. So I'm really hoping it's this week. To be honest, the reason I'm hoping it's this week is I've got a tournament this weekend. I'd love to play with the new data slate at that tournament. If not, then I don't care when it is until I'm back in the end of February, and it can be any time during February. But my personal bias is I want it to be this week for my own personal reasons. Cool. That was a tactical tip. If you found it useful and you liked it, and you're thinking, hey, you know what, actually, I like someone covering the stats every week and talking about tournaments and give me a tactical tip at the end of it, well, consider dropping a like and consider subscribing, because that really does help me out. And if you listen to that tactical tip and you're not a subscriber, you're just stealing now. So just hit that subscribe button and your karma is back to neutral. Okay, finally, it's the Patreon priority question. So for those who don't know, I do run a Patreon. For a little £3 a month, you can join the Patreon. You get access to Discord. You get access to Patreon priority questions, about to go to now. And you get early access to certain videos as well, which I put up sometimes weeks in advance, that sort of stuff. So there's a video that's going up tonight, hopefully. That will probably be like a 2-3 week earlier access for people, and they're already looking at the deep dive probably for Celestial Insidiance, which has been recorded. I'm hoping to do one for Murdering as well. So if you're interested in those and you want to get ahead of the game with the content, then you can join the Patreon. I really do appreciate it. But one of the main benefits that I do is I ask people for Patreon priority questions, and it's essentially my way of being able to offer free advice and interaction with the Patreon community by doing this. So the question that's been posed was, do I have any tips on how to remember to do special actions or rules? This is like a really common thing, right? So we're about to get brand new teams, okay, and like everyone's going to be playing with new teams. Everyone's going to try and remember like what they're trying to do, and you're going to forget stuff, right? That's the way of the game, right? The first time I played the new Murdering team, I finished my first game and I was like, oh, I could have kept my objective alive if I remembered that Firefly ploy. Oh, actually, if I use his equipment in a different way, I'd be able to do this, right? And you're going to have that, okay? That is very, very common when it comes to being a gamer. But when you're in a tournament, you want to try and minimize those, right? And so there's a few things that I do which helps me personally, and I think if you do these things, you're probably going to be able to be helped as well. So, firstly, I use for tournaments the same sort of kit and setup all the time, and one of the things that I use is the Crossfire Games box. Now there are other boxes available, but I use Crossfire Games box, and what it has is a bunch of faction equipment tokens and the standard universal equipment tokens that are in there as well. Now, if I've got like crack grenades and smoke grenades, you can put them in the little slots on the Crossfire game box, or if you want to use a different way of doing it, this is how I used to do it. I would take the tokens and I'd put them in my field of view on the table on like an unused vantage, or if you're playing ITD or Tomb World, you can put it on top of the hatches and the hatchways in front of you, so you can see how many stuns you've got, you can see how many smokes you've got, you can see how many crack grenades and frag grenades and whatever else it's going to be, right? But by keeping them in your field of view, it's a constant reminder that they're there, and then when you use it, you take the token and you put it away. Or you can do, as I said, on Crossfire Games, it's got little slots, you can do the same thing over there to be able to do it. But what it's doing for you is giving you a constant visual reminder that you have something that you can do or would do, and then also it means that you don't forget and you take it away, and therefore you've used your 2 crack grenades and you're not left going, oh, did I use 2 or do I still have a crack grenade left and I'm not too sure, or oh, I actually only use 1 crack grenade, or whatever it is, right? You can then go, yep, there you go, I can physically see. I also use for smoke grenades those same tokens on the board. So if I throw a smoke grenade, I take the token off from the sort of the vantage or the little staging area in front of me, wherever it is, and I put it onto the table, and then people can see, yep, that's what it is. And then when I take that away, I then know that it's gone, right? So for me, I suggest using tokens. I think it's a really good way of doing it, and it's a really good way of prompting you for when it comes to equipment options and that sort of stuff. I said, if you want to do Crossfire Games, you can go there and do TPT24, I think it's the code, or just follow the link in the description below, and it'll take you there and do the discount straight away. And you'll save some money, and you'll just give some feedback to the channel as well. There's also Broken Token, who has just come out with a brand new token set as well, doing a very, very similar thing, and it comes in a really cool little like ammo crate. I'll be doing a review of that soon. It's another option, right? And it's another way of doing it. So if you prefer the aesthetics of Broken Token across Crossfire Games, you have that. And then also you have GG Easy, who does a whole bunch of tokens and organises and that sort of stuff in a similar way, where you can then take those and do it. In the description below are links to all those things. Help yourself, and you'll get a bit of a discount, and it helps support the channel. But for me, I genuinely, like, even if you don't use any of those links and you go somewhere else, even if you make paper things, whatever, I think tokens and little physical reminders are a really good way of doing it, personally. The other thing that I've seen people do is notepads or checklists. So some people like to have a little like notepad, and they write down the ploys that they use. They write down the equipment they've used, all that sort of stuff, and then they can track through as they go. Or they have a checklist where they go, at the start of the game, what things do I need to do, what things do I need to consider, and they just run through their checklists. Both of those can work for you. That's like an individual thing, but as I said, I use tokens, But if notepads work for you, consider that, or if checklists work for you, you can also consider that as well. When it comes to ploys and that sort of thing, I will, even though I spend way too long thinking about this game and staring at the ploys, right? I probably know all of my team's ploys off by heart, right? Not off by heart, but like close enough. Even so, when I'm doing my competition games, and everyone will see this when they play against me, they'll go, "Oh, Ryan, have you any strategic ploys for you?" And even though I know all the Angels' strategic ploys, I still go to the app and I still load up on here. You probably can't see it, but I still load up the app, right? And I go, yeah, combat doctrine, yeah, cool. A nation of fear, yeah, cool. Adaptive tactics, yeah, cool. Right, Indomitus, whatever. And I just double check, right? Because even though I can tell you that I've got a defensive one for being shot at, I've got my combat doctrine for rerolls, I can change my my faction order, whatever, and I can ignore injury. Doing that quickly and thinking about it and processing it can take a bit more time. Whereas if you do that and you go, okay, combat doctrine, now look at the board state, and you go, right, where's the amount of reroll most useful here, right? Okay, I think actually I'm going to do a lot of shooting within 6 inches. Cool, I'll do that tactical. And nation of fear, how injured are all my people? How close are they to being injured? Are they about to become injured? And you look at the board state and try and figure it out. Okay, cool, yeah, that makes sense. Adaptive tactics, and so I mean, you go through with each ploy, you then logically go back to the board state, and you can then start doing it that way. Again, if you don't have the app or you prefer physical cards can be a good way of doing it. You can, as I said, pick up the strat ploys, you can then flick through them, make sure you do it, and potentially you can have it where if you found any of the things useful that I've talked about previously, you can write little notes on it. So one of the things one of my friends is doing now is he's going to write the tempo of games on his crit ops, so he knows, okay, this is a slow tempo, this is a fast tempo, this is what this means, and it just means that you have those references where you need them. And immediately to hand. Again, if it's in your field of view or you make it part of your mechanics for doing things, you're more likely to do it. So for me, part of my mechanics for using ploys is I go to my app, I bring up the app, I look at the ploy, and then I think about other ploys that might be applicable. Same stuff for firefight ploys, right? So similar thing. If you're about to activate an operative, or you know that you've got I've got a defensive one that's useful against shooting or whatever, you can bring up the app and try and use it. Familiarity with teams will help you with prompting that, or you can have, as I said, a little prompt or reminder. Now, little small things can make a big difference. So one of the things that I've seen, I find it really funny, but it's 100% something that is worth doing, is someone has sellotaped into the bottom of their dice tray special rules like remember accurate, or retain for accurate, or whatever it is, like rending, whatever, and they have that in the bottom of their dice tray, so that before you go to roll your dice, if you're someone who always forgets to retain for accurate, you just have accurate, yeah, cool, do that, right? If you've got a certain rule that you forget a lot, just consider doing that. And as I said, thinking about where visually it makes the most sense for that information to be, and then put it where it needs to be, right? So, okay, visually I'm thinking about it, and I know that when I roll dice I forget special rules. Well, maybe I put my dice on a piece of paper that says whatever it is, I don't know, like command reroll this, or free CP reroll, or ceaseless, whatever, I don't know. Or you go accurate. Or in your dice tray, you have it where it says it, so that before you roll and you see where you're going to roll, it's an immediate prompt, then gets that information into your mind, and there you go, and you go, oh yeah, okay, I'm gonna do this. Maybe where your wound counters are, you've got a little thing that says just a scratch, right? So before you go, actually, before I do the damage on my model, I have just a scratch. That kind of thing. It's little reminders in the right place when you're playing. That's probably going to help you. I like to try and, as much as possible, standardise my layout, standardise my my kit with me, so that I'm picking up the same kit in the same way and it's all in the same place, so that those muscle mechanics become the same thing, and that will probably help me remember stuff much easier. So hopefully that was useful. that'll be the end of that patron priority question, unless you have any questions or queries or pile-ons, or if you're a listener and you think, actually, I've got a really good technique for how to remember my special rules and special actions, other than just staring and reading the data card every single day until it's engraved into your vision, so that when you close your eyes, all you can see is your Killteam rules. That is an option as well, but you might find a token a little bit easier and less weird. But hopefully that was useful for all of you. As I said, I'm hoping it's a big week for Killteam. I'm expecting a data slate. Let's be positive. It's coming, and we're going to have a brand new meta. A new dawn is rising on Killteam, and we're going to have some awesome games. It's some awesome fun, and I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully you are too. And as I said, I'm going to be off for a little bit. I'm trying to queue up some content where possible, so that there'll be stuff releasing, so you sort of see my pretty face and hear my voice. See my face and hear my voice, but yeah, I'll be out of the country for a few weeks, and I think it's going to make it very difficult for me to do content. So therefore, I'm expecting it to be a little bit of time before I'm back into the swing of things again. But I'm hoping to do so, and that is the plan, coming back at the end of February. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next time. That brings us to the end of the episode. Hopefully you found something new or useful while listening, and if you did, throwing us a like would be greatly appreciated. If you want to make sure you don't miss any episodes, make sure you hit that subscribe button and click on the bell so you get notifications as soon as the next one drops. It really is the best way to help a small channel like ours. And if you can't wait and you do want early access, we have a Patreon where you can get exclusive access to all our content ahead of time. As always, we'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback. Just drop a comment below and we'll get right to you. Thank you so much for listening. I'm your host Ryan, this has been Turning Point Tactics, and we'll see you next week.